ओमज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वत्यदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामने गौरतुसे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So yesterday we discussed from first chapter, verse number 12. We discussed तस्य संजनयन् हर्षं गुरु वृद्धा पितामह सिंहनादं विनिरुच्य शंखं दद्मौ प्रतापवान्. So in this verse, Bhishma, first of all, Duryodhana, in the previous verses from verse number 3 to 11, Duryodhana, he, with the intention of encouraging Bhishma and Dronacharya and other warriors, he was analyzing the military strength of Pandavas and Kauravas. But Bhishma could understand the motivation of Duryodhana. But Bhishma, in order to um, convince him that we don't require your inspirational or motivational talk, we are already inspired. We have come to fight from your side. So don't think that we have come to fight from your side. We have come to fight from Kaurava's side. So anyway, even if you don't encourage us, even if you don't try to praise, even if you don't praise us, we will still be fighting this battle. So without saying this thing, Bhishma just took the counsel and he just blew the conch, indicating these things that we don't require your motivation. We are self-inspired to fight. So, in this verse, we discussed Simanadan Vinadochai. His blowing of conch shell was like the roaring of a lion. Yeah, Bhishma, he is a Pratapvan, the valiant warrior, very powerful warrior. So, when he blew his conch, it was like the lion is roaring in the battlefield. So, next, verse number 13. तथा शङ्खाश्च भैर्यश्च पणवानकगोमुखा सहसैवाभयन्यन्ता सशब्दस्तुमुलोऽभवत्. After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. तथा शङ्खाश्च भैर्यश्च पणवानकगोमुखा. So when as soon as Bhishma he blew his conch, indicating the beginning of the battle. So from his sides, all the great warriors and soldiers, they also, whatever instruments they had, they also started resounding their instruments. And the effect was such a great effect that it produced a tumultuous sound all over, not just at the battlefield, but all over the sky. All over the sky, the tumultuous sound was felt. And this is the effect. This is the way earlier they used to have battlefield. They used to have battle in a very positive and auspicious spirit. That's why in the beginning, uh, this blowing of conch shell that indicates the auspicious beginning of the battle. So that the battle, the purpose of having the battle is not to kill anybody, not to defeat anybody, just to show our prowess. Or not that battle was not done in Vedic time. The battle was not done out of envy, and the battle was done just to establish dharma. That was the meaning. That is why in Vedic time the battle used to happen, and that was known as Vedic this dharma yuddha. That's why in the beginning they blew conch. In temples, as soon as we do arti, so in the beginning before opening the altar, we blow the conch, indicating The auspicious event is going to happen. Please come together. That is the meaning of blowing of conch before opening the altar, before beginning the arti. So arti of the Supreme Lord is very auspicious thing. So that blowing of conch shell indicates that thing. So similarly, when the battlefield is happening, that is also a religious activity. In order to establish dharma, the battle used to happen. Nowadays, these people they declare the war. There is no blowing of conch. They blow something else, and their purpose is to defeat the other nations in order to occupy their land resources, just to show their supremacy out of envy in this mentality. So without following any religious principles, they fight nowadays. That's why today's fighting is considered to be fighting like cats and dogs. Just like cats and dogs, they fight together. If you have seen how dogs they fight with each other, you will understand. So today's fighting is exactly like fighting like cats and dogs fight. But actually, this Vedic fighting, the Yuddha, Dharma Yuddha, that is not like fighting like cats and dogs. Vedic Dharma Yuddha is for the purpose of bringing auspiciousness to the society. That was the purpose. So Bhishma blew his conch, and similarly all the other soldiers and warriors, in response to Bhishma's blowing of conch, they responded by sounding their whatever instruments they had. In this way, they indicated the auspicious beginning of the battle, and as soon as the other party will hear, they will also blow their conch shell. They will also blow their conch shell, and the other instruments they will also sound, just to indicate that we are also prepared. So another point is that when a certain party they blow their conch shell and they beat their instruments, and in this way the auspicious sounds comes, that means they are prepared now. They are ready for fighting. It's not that as soon as you see the enemy and you just attack, you fire. No, Vedic Yuddha means it's a very proper. It's like the soldiers they used to fight in a sportsmanship spirit, sportsmanship. And after fighting, they used to again become friends. Even during the fighting, also the fight used to happen after the sunrise and before sunset. In between sunrise and sunset, the fighting used to happen. And after sunset, both the parties they used to meet. They used to meet with each other and dine with each other, talk with each other. And in various cases, it used to happen that two friends and brothers and relatives, some or other, they used to join different parties. But as soon as the sunset is there, they used to meet with each other, dine together, and have talk and release the battle of during the daytime. Nobody could even dare to attack on the opposite party during night. That's why when Ashwathama he did this, Ashwathama he attacked on the five sons of Draupadi, and he actually killed them. All the five sons were killed. So Duryodhana, who was such a irreligious person, who always hated Pandavas, and he had the envious attitude towards Pandavas, and of course, naturally, if he was having envy towards Pandavas, so naturally he was having envy for his children also. That is natural. But still, when Ashwathama did this act, abominable act, and killed the five sleeping sons of Draupadi, helplessly, he killed. Mercilessly, he just butchered all of them. So even Duryodhana could not appreciate that. She also chastised Ashwathama. Just see. A person like Duryodhana, she also at least considered some aspect of religious fighting. Principles, he also considered. So that was the case in earlier days. But nowadays, nobody even talk about these things. Morality is only available in the books, in the schools. That's all. Outside the school, no morality. As soon as a child or person comes out of the school, goes to college, universities, and comes out of that, he may be having big degrees, big position, very intelligent, big money, everything, but they don't follow moral principles. And the moral principles also which the modern day society they have designed, that is also based on desire for sense gratification. But Vedic morality, is based on desire for not for sense gratification, but with the desire, with the intention to help others. That there is selflessness is there in Vedic morality. But nowadays, even the moral principles are made out of sense gratificatory principles. Of course, not personal sense gratification, but extended sense gratification. And they talk about these things that why only you should be enjoying wine, woman, and meat eating. Why not give facility to everyone else? That is what their moral principle is. Morality. But Vedic, this is the difference. So we learn from this verse that religious war is going to happen. This battlefield of Kurukshetra. So in response to Bhishma's blowing of conch, all the other warriors and soldiers, they responded that we are also very much prepared to fight. And then next verse, 14 number verse, we'll discuss about it tomorrow also, but just I'll uh, briefly explain that as soon as Bhishma, he blew his conch and others, warriors and soldiers present on his side, they also responded and they responded that we are also prepared to fight. So they were just waiting the response from opposite side Pandavas. So when they heard this, so they also responded back. So this is the verse 14 number. This is the this is the first verse where Lord Krishna and Arjuna, this their entry is happening. This is the entry. Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a movie. So our hero, these two heroes, they are entering now in this verse number 14. This is the first name of Krishna recited, which appears in Bhagavad Gita. Madhava. तथा श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महति सयन्दने स्थितौ माधवा पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदद्मतु. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conches. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed, they so Lord Krishna and Arjuna, Madhava, Pandava, Shaiva. And Pandava here refers to Arjuna. Pandava means the son of Pandu Maharaj. So Arjuna is being referred here as Pandava, and Madhava is Krishna. So Tata Sweter Hayer Yukte. Sweter means white with white horses. Hayer means horses. So Arjuna's chariot was being drawn by four white horses, very brilliant, splendor and splendorous white horses. They were celestial horses actually. This chariot was gifted by Agni Dev. Agni Dev, he gifted this chariot to Arjuna so that it can be used for the purpose of his fighting. Because Krishna is there, Krishna should not be using any ordinary chariot of this material one. So Agni Dev, he gifted this chariot. That's why it is said Mahati Sayandane. Mahati Sayandane. Sayandane means chariot. Mahati means great chariot. So this word, Mahati Sayandane, it also predicts that Arjuna was gifted with very great chariot, so he is going to become victorious in this battlefield. So Isthita, they were stationed on this Mahati Sayandane, great chariot, who Madhava Pandava Shaiva. Madhava Pandava Shaiva. Madhav means Krishna, the goddess, the husband of the goddess of fortune, and Pandava means Arjun. Cha Eva, certainly. So these two words, Yukte, Yukte means the horses were yoked, means the horses were in full preparation, that they are just about to run, and means the chariot was just about to be used at any time. If Arjuna ordered that please take the chariot on the other side of that military strength, I want to see and I want to fight. So that means that indicates the chariot was well prepared. In today's scenario, we can say the vehicle is just started. It is started. One just driver needs to just give a accelerator. That's all. So that means yukte. And isthita means both Krishna and Arjuna. They were stationed. Means they took their seat. That means they were prepared. So right now Arjuna is not bewildered. In the upcoming verses also, this fact will be revealed that Arjuna and Arjuna and Krishna, they were fully prepared. They have come with the intention to fight in this battlefield. Arjuna was fully prepared. That's why Svetar higher yukte, Mahati Sayandani Sthita. Madhava Pandavashaiva Divya Sangho Pradadmatu. Madhava indicates goddess of fortune, the husband of goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Pati. So this also predicts that because Madhav, Krishna, who is the husband of goddess of fortune, fortune means goddess of fortune. So this proves that Arjuna is going to become victorious. So Sanjay is speaking this verse to Dhritarashtra. So indirectly he wants to hint. He could have named Krishna as Krishna also. He could have said like that, Krishna Pandava Shaiva. But specifically he is taking the name of Krishna as Madhava. Madhava means he's Lakshmi Pati, because Lakshmi Pati indicates that Lakshmi is going to always remain with on the Pandava side, because Lakshmi, any chaste woman, any chaste wife, she always want to remain with her husband. She never wants to remain alone, go away. Of course, in Kali Yuga, in modern days, it happens, but in Vedic times, and Mother Lakshmi, she is the supremely chaste wife of Lord Krishna. So although her name is Chanchala, Chanchala means she cannot remain, uh, means permanent with any person. She is always flickering in nature. But with her husband, she always remains attached to lotus feet of her husband, Lord Krishna. So that's why Lakshmi is always with Lord Krishna and Krishna is with Pandavas. So that means Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is there with Arjuna, Pandavas. So this indicates that Pandavas, they are going to become victorious. All fortune is there with them. So that's why Sanjaya is taking the name of Krishna as Madhava, just to indicate Dhritarashtra that Pandavas are going to become victorious because Lakshmi Pati is standing with them. So naturally, Lakshmi will always be with Pandavas. So this is the meaning here. And Divyao Sankho Pradadmatu. Divyao Sankho. Sankho means conch shells. So that means both Krishna and Arjuna, both are then stationed on their chariot, which is yoked with white horses, celestial horses. So both of them blew their conch shells. That's why this Divya Sankho. Sankho is this is Dvivachan, for indicating, this indicates two conch shells. Divya indicates two. So this last line we'll discuss tomorrow also. This is very important. But just I'm giving one assignment to all of you, that you have to think about it, and tomorrow I'll ask that why this word Divya has been used. When in the previous verse number 12, when Bhishma, he blew his conch, so there is no such thing mentioned that the sound vibration coming out of Bhishma's conch is Divya, transcendental, divine. No. It is only stated that Simhanadam, the sound produced by Bhishma, was compared with roaring of a lion. This lion is roaring, very, very powerful. But there is no such thing mentioned that it is transcendental divine. But when Krishna and Arjuna, they are blowing their conch. So it is mentioned that their blowing is like it's a Divya, transcendental. So why it is Divya? So you have to answer. Another point. Okay, Krishna, somebody may say Krishna because Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whatever all his activities, all his weapons, all his qualities, whatever he does is Divya, transcendental. But why Divya? Means Arjuna, when he is also blowing his conch, that is also considered as Divya, transcendental. So what is the reason? What it signifies? So you have to answer this. Okay, so tomorrow we'll discuss about this. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram.